Mabuhay, Kamustika. Welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, and I just logged on here. I was not thinking today about doing a live stream. It's probably been 3 weeks since I have done a live stream, so I thought, well, uh, let's just come back to work. Excuse me, something else on my mind. Let's just come back here and try to get used to this again. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking doing one of these because you have to be here on time if you say you're going to start at a certain amount of time, and I don't do them consistently enough for everybody to expect that I'm going to be on. And certainly one of these days in the future, we want to do that. Now let's see here. So the idea here tonight is whoever's out there, I have no particular topic. Whatever you want to talk about. Now, usually when I do this, I can see a place over here where there are questions. So if somebody's there, can you at least say hello or something so I can see if the chat is going to show up here? Because it doesn't look like it normally does. So I don't want to be talking and then nobody can leave any questions. Here, maybe it's this or not. Okay, now I see something, but I better move it over here. Okay, well, that's different. Dave Knutson, hello, how are you? We're just kind of an open forum here tonight. My wife got back from the Philippines after being away for 15 days. She just went to work. So I'm kind of here alone. Thought I would get the clothes started washing so that she doesn't come home tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock and then I'm using the clothes washer and it makes a lot of noise. So that's an adjustment I have to make now that she just started a different shift. So here it is, 7:11 USA. She just went to work at 6 and right now her shift is 12 hours long. That's just what they went to. And I guess if somebody didn't like that, they could always look for another job within the company or just leave. And I think a lot of people have been. It's tough to work 12 hours. It's 7 days out of 14. And every other Saturday and Sunday, she's working 12 hours. So I can see where that would be unappealing to a lot of people. So, and thanks, Dave, for letting me know that you're okay and that I can see your comment. So I appreciate that. So it's just an open forum here tonight. And hopefully you guys can ask me some questions. Otherwise, I can always just delete this if it doesn't work out. Like I said, no preparation. I just decided to start the laundry and turn on the live stream and see if we can talk about foreigners and Filipinas. Very popular topic because for many years, many decades, foreign men have gone to the Philippines looking for a good wife. And I actually did that myself back in 2015. And I married my wife on May 10th, 2015. And she's been here since January 11th of 2016. So when she went to the Philippines here to stock up on things for our house that we built in the Philippines, that was our first time away. And that was tough on me because it felt like she was gone for 15 years. It was almost strange when she got back because it felt like she had been gone so long, but she hadn't. And it probably took a day or a day and a half just to get used to the idea that she was back. Very strange. My story here was I had been alone for a very, very long time, about 30 years. I would normally be ashamed to admit that, but since I'm married now, I'm not. And that kind of helps make this channel interesting, I hope. We got married very, very quickly. For all those years, I couldn't get the time of day from somebody, here in America. We got married in warp speed. We were married in less than 8 weeks. So, it wasn't because I had lost my mind after being alone all that time. I just felt like in all that time, I kind of had some idea of what I needed, and had never in that time, until probably just a month or two before I met her, even considered the Philippines. It just seemed, too far away and all of that. So I did, and joined up. On the fifth day, I met my wife online, which was her first day. And then we got married. We got engaged real quick, and then we got married. I went down to the Philippines to meet her. Oh, by the way, we're getting married too. So that has gone well, and now my life's changed so much. We plan on retiring there, and I remember telling your family when they asked me, "Are you going to come back and visit the Philippines?" And I said, to be honest with you, no, because my back was killing me. I didn't think to take any pain pills. I'd never been on long flights like that before. It takes about a day and a half to get there from here. Once you add in, leaving from here to get to the airport, and 4 flights, and the layovers, and then there's a taxi ride have to take to get to Davao City, where she's from. So that was kind of a surreal experience, but I'm glad I did it. And so I decided to start a YouTube channel called Love Beyond the Sea, because the love part is about marriage and love, and how or any man needs to take care of his Filipina beyond the sea. Stands for the Philippines. So we both found our love beyond the sea. We got married there. One of these days, we're going to take our love beyond the sea when we retire, hopefully in about 5 years, when I would be 62. And I have my reservations about that. I know why I'm doing it, but that's a big move. But it was a big move for my wife to come from the Philippines and leave everything and everyone behind, and come to be my wife. We weren't planning on going back necessarily, but to this point, we haven't been able to have children, which she would like. And so it looks like now, if we end up having children, if I end up being a father, it'll probably have to be in the Philippines. And I know a lot of people would not feel that they would want to raise a child in the Philippines. My point in life, I'm 57, and start to think about retirement and the future, and kind of finishing. This is like the fourth quarter of my life, it seems. So trying to be philosophical about that. That's something else we can talk to if anybody wants to talk about retiring in the Philippines. Talk about why that's a good idea, why maybe it's not a good idea, what you would be kind of apprehensive about. If you've never been to the Philippines, I've been there 3 times now, and we plan on going in December here, 2019, over Christmas. So it's growing on me. We built a house there, so obviously I'm willing to do it, and hopefully in 5 more years I'll really be chomping at the bit. But there's some apprehension right now, but I think that's understandable. Saw an interview to Filipinas. The question was, would you rather marry a fellow Filipino or overweight foreign man? Don't forget bald. That's usually in the mix too, it seems. And for what reasons? All answered, overweight foreign man because of money and babies. you might be referring to a video that was done by a guy named Mark Nowhere Man. And I've seen some of his content. I've even responded on there. And I think I probably watched the one that you're talking about, Dave. It's hard to know if he edited out the ones where they said, no, I would rather marry a Filipino. Now, I mean, because you can always edit that stuff out when you're making a video. I will say this, and yes, before I say that, that is true. There's a lot of women who, in the Philippines, who, if that foreign man gives them the impression that, number one, he's a decent human being, and number two, she's not afraid of him, because a lot of Filipinos worry about getting beat by the foreign man, and that they're probably not going to know all that well. So if they think he's, decent person, kind, trustworthy, can provide for them a better living, many of them, not all, will say yes. I would go for that older foreign man, even if he's, doesn't look like, Superman. And that's a good thing for those of us that aren't built like Superman or look like Superman. And a lot of Filipinos won't even ask or try too hard to find out from the foreign man, what his financial situation is, because they think, why should I ask? He's in America, or he's in Europe or Australia or somewhere. He must be in really great shape compared to things here. So some of them don't even ask. If the Filipina early on, and it seems at an inappropriate time, for example, you haven't met in person and you don't really have a strong bond going, and they're asking about your financial status, that would be one of those major red flags where, probably should just move on to the next candidate. And there are lots of, prospects in the Philippines. But I can tell you this, David, it's not everyone. It's not everyone, because, I know people that have been there, and they say it's not so cut and dried that a foreigner shows up and then all of a sudden he's the cat's meow, and he's a big shot, he's a rock star. That's just not the case. I mean, it took was it the third trip to the Philippines? Yeah, I think the third time there before I even noticed another woman even look at me. I mean, yeah, some people probably look for out of curiosity, but my first thought was, wow, I thought, I would be attracting some kind of crowd if I wasn't with my wife, which wasn't often. But, we go to the mall, or, we're running around on our wedding prep, and she's over there and I walk over there. I felt like I was right here in the States. It was really no big deal. And I know I've heard other vloggers talk too, that the notion that, you are a rock star is not really true, at least not everywhere in the Philippines. It's possible if there's a province area where they don't see a lot of foreigners, that this could be the case. And, but in a bigger city, probably that's, you're going to be disappointed if you go there and think, I'll have somebody to date really soon. And it's just not that true. I know I watch Frank Battaglia's channel. I like Frank's channel, and he has talked about that before. In other words, when you go to the Philippines, you better have somebody there to see and to spend your time with, or you could be very disappointed and very lonely, because it's not always what you read. So in other words, I would label, the comment made here, Dave, that the Filipino will always want that foreigner, no matter what condition he's in, over Filipino as a stereotype. In other words, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But I appreciate the question. It brings up, the obvious comments about, does the Filipino want the foreigner for him or for his money? And if you have not been in the Philippines, and maybe you've even seen some film, but it's different when you're there. It really it hits you right between the eyes that there was a lot of people there in bad conditions. And frankly, I don't begrudge any Filipina, or my wife for thinking, you know what, all in all, if I want a better life for myself, for my, family, then I need to do what people have done here in my country for a long, long time. And that's, marry someone overseas. Most Filipinas want to work overseas. They're not saying, hey, there's this guy over there, looks like money bags, and I think I'll marry him and be on easy street the rest of my life. That's not what they want. Most of them are going to want to come to the foreigner's country and work their butt off. My wife got her Social Security card pretty quickly after she got here, and so that she could, work and pay taxes and get paid anyway. So she did that, and she's been working, it might be close to, got to get close to 3 years now. And she'll work 40 hours if there's no overtime, and, up to 60 hours a week she has worked, usually, 14, 16 hours a week overtime. Why? Because she wants to help her family. But she married me. She didn't just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to take that foreigner and here I go. She picked and will pick somebody that she respects, that she thinks can make her a good husband. I don't think they're going to be, there's some thought process for the Filipina. And my wife went to college, and that's a good thing to think about, finding a Filipina that has a college degree. She's probably been working and wants to continue to work. So, it's always a big topic, the money situation. These Filipinas here in this question might want to marry a foreigner, but those are for logical reasons, I think, and that's for financial security and to help mama and papa especially. And in the meanwhile, she can make the best wife that a man can have. My wife, it took her probably a month to make me forget about those 30 years that I was alone. In fact, she said that's what she was going to do. And she has, because, the only time I felt alone is the last 2 weeks when she had to take this vacation to the Philippines and get the stuff for the house. And I felt alone. I was very uncomfortable. I had some sleepless nights, and now she's back, and that feels great. I think we slept for like 16 hours the day she got back, because she was very tired. So she had a day off, and then she has to go back to work 12 hours today. But a Filipina can make a great wife. And honestly, look, let's just talk about anything you want to talk about tonight, because I can talk about stuff pretty easily. And I want to be real. I want to be frank with people, because, a foreigner marrying a Filipina, that's a big deal. I've done it, so I have a good idea of what might be up ahead or going through your mind. We've been through the immigration process, the online dating process, the getting to know each other now that we're together process. We've gone through the first arguments with each other process. We're still, I think, feeling each other out as far as being more acquainted with each other, because we got married so fast. Now, our marriage is not in any kind of danger unless I were to be rough or verbally abusive with her. Filipinas, if you didn't marry the wrong one, like someone that really was in it for the money or the green card, that Filipino will stay with you. I didn't know any Filipinas, and I didn't know any Filipino or foreign or Fil-Am couples when she got here, or at least when we got married. And now we've known 4 or 5 Fil-Am couples right here. And we've even gone out on some group dates, gone out to the Asian place to eat. And that's a good thing. So even somebody where I work, his Filipino wife might be here already, or I'll bet she's going to be here in February, because my wife, he was talking to my wife one day where she works. We both work in the same place. And he said, "Where did you and Bob meet?" And she said, dating site Christian Filipina. And this man is 37, far younger than the age group that usually watches my channel. And he joined up within a few months, found somebody. They both focused on each other, went up there like 3 times. They got married, and she should be here any minute. Just a few days ago, another older man that lives maybe 10, 12 miles from here, his younger Filipino wife just arrived. So it's very, very popular, and there's not supposed to be many Filipinas here, but maybe those statistics are old, and there's people here in Nebraska wising up to the possibility of finding a Filipina to marry. And the babies, my wife did not have any children, and that's something that was important to her, and we have not been able to. I really believe that one of these days that's going to be possible, and I'd almost hope that we wait until we go to the Philippines. That'll be an interesting situation. So anybody has any topics, anything you want to tell me about, anything you want me to address, just please leave a question. I'd be glad to talk about it. Otherwise, I can talk till I'm hoarse. But I would rather say things that you're intrigued about, something you want to know, something you want to be sure about. For example, Dave, are you seeking a Filipina wife? Are you married to one right now? Just curious, just want to know. I've always been attracted to Filipinas. I just think they're beautiful, but never really seriously considered marrying one, because I just assumed all that time I was going to find somebody where I lived. Then I was 53 when we got married. She was 26 when we got married. And once I got to 50, I realized all these dating sites I was on, that the women who were 50 didn't seem to want guys that were older than 50. Women traditionally, according to the statistics that I've read, always tend to want to marry somebody in their age group, and be attracted to guys about their age group, where men always seem to be stuck on that same age group of 20 to 25, maybe 23, 24, 25-year-old woman, no matter how old he gets. But now it seems that women, let me know if you don't agree, but it seems like when they hit 50, they're looking for somebody 50, 49, 48, 47. So when I realized that I just wasn't getting anywhere, before I threw in the towel and lived alone the rest of my life, I would consider the Philippines. My pastor had sent me an article from something he read on the internet about an older guy that found someone in the Philippines, and he said, I want to help. Had been trying to help me to no avail, but he said, just take a look at this, and if that sounds interesting to you, consider it another option. So I did, and not long after that, I was engaged and then married. And so I want other people to know that they don't have to be going through life alone like I did. In my opinion, having somebody there, even if it's from another country 10,000 miles away, is infinitely better than going through life alone. Now, yeah, going through life alone as a single adult is there's less risk. Okay, I would call that, in my opinion, I know not everybody believes what I say, but in my opinion, that would be a low risk, low reward. You get married, you can use your mind and use the experience of others and make a good choice. Then you're going to have more risk marrying anybody. And with a Filipina, there's some things you have to know, but the reward is very high. It's kind of like investing. They always tell you high risk, high reward. Don't invest any more than you're comfortable, being able to sleep, with. If you invest and you lie awake at night thinking, "Oh, brother, this might really backfire," then you shouldn't do it. But if a person can get to a situation, learning from other people, and I'd like to be one of those people, to help you get involved with international dating with a Filipina, you just might be able to pull that off. Been seeking, not having the best of luck. Learning beliefs, how soon they want you there, getting married, and what age they still want kids at. Yeah, that's it looks like you've made a list and you're keeping track of those sorts of things. The beliefs, if you're talking religious beliefs, it's 80% Catholic. My wife is Protestant, which in the Philippines, a non-Catholic, they call that born again. So when she says she's born again, she's saying, "I'm not Catholic, I'm Protestant." And there's some Latter-day Saints there too, but mostly, you'll find Catholicism as being the religion there. As far as other beliefs, if you would mind, don't mind being more specific, I've been with my wife for a few years now, and we've talked about differences between America and the Philippines and different ways Filipinas think. So maybe I could help you with that. Filipinas tend to want to get married fast, which I liked because I wasn't getting anywhere here in America. I tried 4 dating sites, 2 of them twice. I decided to give them another chance, and it just wasn't worth it. But that made me move on to something else, which was trying to find a Filipina. But the ones on the dating sites, I think they want to get married. In America, the ones on the dating sites, how do you know if they want to get married? I mean, the questions don't seem to get responded to. Invitations to meet or I'd like to get together with you, it just gets ignored. I think for the most part, unless you see an obvious scammer, they want to get married, and they can very easily get married very quickly, quicker than you are likely to be comfortable with. So then you need to think about things because on the one hand, yeah, it can be over quickly. You can marry a Filipino and you can marry a good one, but do you want to marry before you're comfortable that you can manage the risk? As far as children, I've seen some vlogs, videos where a Filipino without children would say they don't want one, but I think that's very much in the minority. I think you can pretty much just assume that they want children. Now, if you're looking for a Filipino through a dating site, I would hope that they would put in there in the profile, would you like to have children? do you have children, and that sort of thing. But they're probably going to say yes. Now, does that mean that if you say, I've had a vasectomy, or I'm not sure I want to have children, that it's over with? I would say no. Um, that's just something the Filipina will have to decide as she weighs out, well, is this guy going to be, he's going to take care of me? Can I trust him? Is he going to be a good man and, protect me? Is he going to support me, helping, my family? Is he going to love me? Then it's certainly possible that they could say yes. And so you would just have to talk, are you willing to marry someone who is not able to give you children, or who doesn't want to have children? He may have had children before and not want to do that again. So Dave is just, matter of, making notes and going to bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about, the ones you've talked to, and, waking up in the morning and hopefully you feel better about one or the other if you've got multiple prospects. And this is the hard part. I found out was that there are so many opportunities, real opportunities. I was never worried about, are 9 of these 10 girls or women scammers? It was like, well, they sure seem, legitimate, and they all seem nice. I don't know what to do. It was a hard choice. Or most are married but separated, and of course, divorce isn't an option there. So you're running into a lot that are separated or married. I remember when I was looking on the dating site, I did see a lot of annulments where it said, they said, I've been separated. Some of them even said, I've been separated for 10 years. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But right now it means that they're no longer married to their former husband, but they are not legally unmarried. They are still married because, like you say, there is no divorce there. So, if that's something that's a what do you call it, a deal breaker, then there, I would like to think there's a ton of single Filipinas. People talk about date in Asia. I've heard about that one. Christian Filipina, I'm familiar with. Where everybody, I'd say 90, I was looking at, women in the 20 to 30 age group. I'd say probably 98 or 9% of them were, single. I mean, not separated. And so there was just an overwhelming amount to choose from. And if it wasn't for my wife wanting to see just how serious I was about, being in a committed relationship, she offered to shut her profile down, even though she just joined, and focus on me. But she wanted me to do the same thing. So I thought about it, and then I thought, you know what? I'm having such a terrible time figuring out how to narrow down my list, which was getting longer all the time because it seemed like there was 100 new women joining up every day. And of course, I had to roll through the profiles again and see if I changed my list. And I was thinking, man, I don't know what to do. I did like 4 or 5 Skype sessions, webcams, and the women are very comfortable, which surprised me, very at ease, very pleasant, answered the questions, just very delightful, easygoing, easy to chat with. And that didn't help either to narrow my choice down. So my wife wanted to focus on me. That's fine. We did that and we got married. We chatted 4 hours a day. So Dave, if you find somebody, I don't know what your plan is. If you're going to try to just, get a list of 10 or 15 and whittle it down and actually see 3 or 4 in person, or if, like some people I know, this kind of surprises me, they just say, the first one that I think make me a decent wife, I'm just going to forget about everybody else and focus on them and see how it goes. And yeah, I'm surprised really how many guys do that. And I've got a video on that, or I have made one and haven't put it out yet. But there's all kinds of ways to look at going about this process. But there's a lot of single women out there in the Philippines, and I was looking for a younger woman. To be honest with you, I felt if I had been alone for so long, I kind of wanted to, I don't know, get some years back. Not exactly the right way to say it, but or you could say I wanted something for my pain. I don't know, but I just thought, boy, if it's that easy to marry a younger woman in the Philippines, then that's what I was going to shoot for. Now, a good sign was to me, my wife was 26, and her profile said 30 to 55. And that's a good sign, because I was leery of 20 to 80, or it doesn't matter. Well, because it really should matter. Age might be a number, but if they're depending on the situation, it could be important. And I wanted somebody that seemed to have some boundaries picked out for her, and I just made the cut. And a lot of the women will say it's negotiable. They might want someone 30 to 40, but they'll it all depends on the person, so you just have to see how it goes. Yeah, so the age, there again, you can find videos from people on YouTube about older Filipinas, which really means probably over 30, and that they might be, maybe they've had their children, and certainly could be wiser or more mature than the ones that a lot of foreigners want, 18 to 22. You can pick any age that a person wants. I have been on record as saying, a 30-year age difference, for what it's worth to me, would be about maximum. That is not to dissuade anyone from doing differently, and that a Filipina that's 25 or older would probably be more a better success rate for the foreigner than somebody that's 18 to 22. I have heard that the Filipinas that are in that age group are not nearly as mature as the ones that are 25 and older. And if you can find someone that's has a job, a college degree, then they might have a job, because it seems like you need one to work anywhere. And if she's been working and putting in the time and the hours, getting around, getting through that heat, checking in, clocking in, clocking out, supporting the family, well, then you have somebody that has an established work ethic, and they're not lazy, and they're not selfish, because they put their families first. And for my money, that was no pun intended. I wanted someone who was like that. At least I'm certainly glad that's what I got. So oh yeah, any range is you can get, but that doesn't mean you should. Now, if it all depends. It all depends. I've done quite a few, maybe half dozen videos on older man, younger woman. If you haven't checked those out, or anybody that sees this later on, it's always a good topic. And there's things you need to know. Most of the foreign men want the younger women because they figure they make better sex partners, and I'm sure they do. But if she doesn't have some wits about her and some character, that person could regret that decision. So, 20 to 30, my wife was 26, and and that worked for me. I mean, we're 27 years difference. My wife doesn't even like me talking about it because it's not a big deal to her. And if you look at some of my videos, I hope you'll be able to tell that it doesn't seem like it's a big deal to her. She's an excellent wife to me, and no relationship is perfect. But in my channel, I do want to talk about those things that could be cause conflict, and we can do that right now too. It's not all a rose garden, and you'll have your disagreements. Just have to go about handling them the right way. I just did one on tempo. It's called tempo, and how there's a very common practice in the Philippines, and it can go with the Filipino or the Filipina, where it's more or less a silent treatment. And different people have different opinions about that. My video is about the best way to handle tempo, because it's almost a sure thing it's going to happen at some point, because it's just a very cultural thing, and I want people to be prepared for that. So if you would take a look at that video, the best way to handle tempo, that's something just to consider. And as far as the age group, you get a younger woman. For example, my wife, she can work the 12-hour shift, go to the grocery store, one or two grocery stores, come home an hour and a half later with food, and then start cooking, or come home and start cleaning for a couple hours if she's in the cleaning mood and she's just worked 12 hours. She's they call her the Energizer Bunny at work, and I really appreciate that. That's a benefit I wasn't really thinking about. Younger wife can have a lot of energy. She's probably, though, on the other hand, going to want to go do things, which might mean you got to spend some money, because she might want to get out of the house and travel. My wife and I are both homebodies, so we're generally content just to come home and stay home with each other, lie in bed and watch a movie on her phone, or look at our phones and just be there next to each other. Or she might want to watch a movie, but most of the time my wife just wants to stay home. But there are times she wants to get out and go somewhere. And so I guess you should talk to her about the type of interest she has before you get married. For example, you could say, if you married me and came here to America, how do you see your life going? What sorts of things would you do for entertainment? Because their options are probably quite limited in the Philippines. And so coming to another country, it's a new world. They may want to go out and do things and explore it. And some guys are like that. They're saying, hey, I want a woman that wants to get out there and travel there and do this. And they've got all these hobbies. Maybe they like to be outdoors a lot. Me, not so much. I've had so many surgeries, that my neck is hopefully one I can avoid the rest of my life. I don't get out that much. We're content just to stay home. And yeah, I am a lucky man, Dave. I am. I was not just looking for somebody to sleep with. I wanted a marriage that lasted. My wife didn't want somebody just to sleep with. And, she felt like, I was saying the things that she wanted to hear, since she wanted somebody to be a reliable husband that could take care of her and she could trust. So we got married, and it's gone like any marriage would. You get to know each other, you learn how to handle conflict together, and you make your plans together. And so on my channel, Love Beyond the Sea, I have a lot of videos on obviously the relational part perspective for the man. I don't want to get into talking about the women and talking to them, because I don't feel it's my right or responsibility to give advice to women. That would be something that would be best done by another woman. So, Dave, I hope you can become a lucky man yourself one of these days. A Filipina can most certainly make a good wife, and I'm not the only one, in my city that has experienced that. I'm not even the only guy at work. I mean, time will tell, because his wife probably hasn't quite got here yet. But if that works out, then you got another happy Fil-Am couple, right there at work. So there's probably more of them out there where you live than you even notice. So as I started, this is impromptu live stream. Just spur of the moment, decided to come on here. My wife is off to work after recovering briefly from her trip to the Philippines to load up our house with everything that goes in the house, which she did in less than 2 weeks, and really wore herself out. But if you watch the videos that I just uploaded, I think maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, and then another one today, everything in there she purchased while she was out there. I mean, there may have been a few items that were brought over from the other house, but by and large, she had to pick out everything that you look at on the walls, on the floor, and will it fit, and is it the right color scheme, and all of that. So she did a great job. I'm sure she would have liked another week or two to do that, but that's our retirement home that we're looking at there in that video, and that may not be for 5 years. I would be 62 at that time, and that's when you can first get your Social Security. So this was just an impromptu video. Anybody who would like to make a comment here, I can stay on longer. We'll talk about anything related to foreigner and Filipina relationship. My channel is to help foreigners in Filipinas, whether it's kind of motivating them to maybe get out of their comfort zone, to think about it. Lots of men have married Filipinas, and whoever watches this probably knows somebody and might be intrigued. Well, boy, that seems to be working out well. Maybe that could happen to me. And it happened to me after 30 years of being alone and feeling like it was absolutely hopeless. And I guess it was, because I was meant to marry somebody in 9,800 miles away that wasn't even born by the time I decided, what, I think I want to be married. So a very long wait, but I have accumulated some, perspective over the years, and some knowledge I hope I can apply to our marriage, that I want to put out there for other people, because this channel it's pro Filipina, it's pro marriage. I want to talk about anything that the people want to talk about. Younger wife is a big topic. Does she love you or the money? Big topic. And it's not all or nothing. Does the Filipina love you? Yes. Does she love the money that her husband can provide for her? Yes, of course. It's not all or nothing. She's not going to marry somebody that's going to be bad to her and mistreat her just because he'll let her work. Filipinas are not, they're smart, and they're shrewd, and there are a lot of good ones out there that unfortunately have to live under the stereotype that the bad ones create. But if you can learn from others and what they looked at to try to find a good Filipina wife, there's some risk. If a person is risk averse, they're probably not going to look at a woman from another country. If they become desperate enough and they honestly want to still get married, then expanding your borders beyond the country you're in is done all the time. And there's a lot of people, considering it. And that's, part of the group of people I want to help with my channel. Otherwise, if somebody's married to a Filipina, we certainly, learn from each other and just kind of be encouraged by each other. Upper Michigan. Yeah, my wife just landed in Detroit. Was it 2 days ago? Wednesday. And you have Filipinas there in Upper Michigan. Oh, yeah. Well, I wonder, were those Filipinas born in the States? Did they immigrate from the Philippines? There's a belief out there, and it might be true, that a Filipina that you bring over from the Philippines will have a different mindset than the Filipina that's here. So yeah, thanks. Born in the Philippines. Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of trouble here in America. I guess you could say in America, there's maybe there's not enough commitment there, more so than scamming, which is kind of the same thing in the Philippines. Then, oh yeah, there's women that scam, and you have to wait long enough to find somebody that doesn't ask you for money, because a good Filipina that's a good marriage candidate is not going to ask the foreigner for money. Now, if they're married or, well, like in my case, I went there to meet her and marry her. I had to send her money so she can buy all the stuff for the wedding that we were planning. And, she was, and she did that, and she was just fine. So I didn't have to give her money, even though I wanted to. I wanted to say, hey, I'm your husband now. But initially, when I got back to the States, she still didn't want my help. She felt like if she had enough to eat, get through the day, she didn't need my help. And she's not the only Filipina that feels that way. And part of it too, they probably don't want to come off as being helpless or somebody that's using their husband, even though, yeah, they could use the money, and they know Filipinas that are doing that, scamming other people. But the ones with integrity are just not going to do that. They will not ask you for money, even if you tell them to. And so one very good way to eliminate getting hurt is to just, not give money to somebody that's asking you for it. And well, I know other people too that didn't have to, because their wives, they didn't ask them for money when they were dating, and that's a good sign. So I'm sorry for your observation that these women from the Philippines there in Upper Michigan, cheated on their husbands. Boy, that happens an awful lot, and it happens a lot in the Philippines without divorce that we talked about earlier. A lot of the men there have mistresses. It's I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but it happens a lot. It's not uncommon to have a mistress in the Philippines, and so ends up having a lot of women with children that they're not married to the guy, and sometimes they don't even know where he is to be found, yet they're still married. And I just feel so sorry for them, because they can't cut loose from those guys, even if they haven't seen the husband for a few years. He can always show up again if he finds out that she was with another man. He could have her thrown in jail. So it's just not a great situation out there. But yeah, I'm glad you have an open mind. I don't know how old you are, Dave, but I was 53 and always figured I could find somebody in my city, and then I ended up going, 9,800 miles away. 43, excellent age, because you I believe, would be in demand for a Filipina. I've done a video called "Can a Young Man Find Love in the Philippines?" And probably I was talking about somebody younger than 43. And yeah, they can. A lot of men will say, well, I don't know about these Filipinas. They only want the older guys, and it's frustrating if they're in their 20s. But that's a reality. But somebody that's 43, a guy at work, Dave, he was 37, and he married a Filipina. She was 25. That's when they first started getting together. And so 43, absolutely. Sure, some of the women on the profiles will say they want somebody from 50 to 80, something like that, but not always. And 43 seems like a good age to me. In fact, it's a good age because you have more life ahead of you, and you can probably be extra patient. And, I was 53. I waited long enough. Felt like I waited forever, and I didn't just marry, the first woman that I chatted to. I married the first, good one. Can you always just wait a little longer and find someone a little better in some way? Yeah, but what's the point? Because you just stall. You stall out that way. It's like looking for a car. You think you found a car that you like, and then you just go to one more place, and then it's like, oh wow, I didn't know if they had those, and boy, I like that feature, and they don't have that at the other place, and then you can't make up your mind. So I found the first one I thought was a good one. I got married, which allowed us to be together quicker, which gives us more marriage overall. But 43 is certainly a good age to appeal to a younger Filipina in the Philippines. Harry Spears, thank you for being here. Hurricane season, I'll take your word for it. It very well may be. If you're referring to bad weather in the Philippines, like tsunamis. My wife lives in Davao City, Philippines, and she says they don't really get hammered when there's bad weather over there. Some places do. They'll build a house there, and then the tsunami will destroy it and everything else. Then they have to rebuild, and then it happens again. Other places just kind of get the leftover from that, and that's like Davao. So I mean, that's one reason I'm glad we built our house there, because I don't think we have to worry about this kind of weather. Davao's, I think, the third largest city in the Philippines, daytime population 2 million. I think Cebu and then Manila are larger. I had to go to Manila to go into the embassy there and start that process by getting a piece of paper indicating that I had not been married, or that I was not married. Since I could not produce divorce papers or death certificate, I just had to go and pay $50 and swear that I was not married. The woman can get something called a certificate of no marriage, Senomar. She has to get that. And part of the petition that you got to go through. And I certainly hope the hurricane season is over there. It's something you worry about. If you have a fiance in the Philippines, you start keeping an eye on the news from her city, and it becomes much more important. You start looking at the news. There are the terrorists there, and the terrorists I think they're in probably a couple well-known spots, so that most of the Philippines can certainly be considered safe. But there are some that you probably should avoid, and for your own good, and try to find a woman somewhere, in a safer part of the Philippines. I'd love to talk about this. It's one of my favorite things in life, because I married a Filipina. I have a YouTube channel till the day I die, Lord willing. I want to help guys. And I certainly want to keep the channel going at retirement. when we're in the Philippines, because that should help it. We plan on living with some of my wife's family in that house. The video is up right now. My wife did a tour of it, like 25 minutes long, and that's the house we plan on living in. There's multiple bedrooms there because there's going to be family there. Should make for an interesting retirement. I'm okay not going somewhere and not having peace and quiet, because I think, you know, here's the thing, as I get closer to retirement, start thinking, what do I want out of retirement if I go to the Philippines? I want my life to be more exciting, maybe, I don't know, more exciting, more challenging. I don't know. There's a little bit of dread, being so far away, what could go wrong. But I think it'll be just fine. I get along great with her family. It's one of the best things a guy can have if he's in the Philippines is a Filipina. Filipina at his side, because she can help him get around and know how things work, and hopefully not get ripped off, not get pickpocketed. Some foreigners are easy prey when they're out there by themselves. And if you have a Filipina around, I think you feel as safe as you can feel. First time there, did I travel alone? I did travel alone. Tips. Well, off the top of my head, I might have been well served by bringing some kind of sleeping aid. I mean, if you really feel you need it, you can maybe go to the doctor and get a small supply of sleeping pills. There's over-the-counter stuff. I've only used the ones that you get from the doctor, and I haven't used them for a while. But some people do that if they're not a seasoned traveler that can sleep on those long flights. You might want to look at some sleep aid. Certainly bring, there's just some logistical things. Bring some pain pills. My back was absolutely killing me. That 14.5-hour flight from LA to Manila, I thought I was going to lose my mind. It just felt like it took forever. I'd never done anything like that before. So I guess one tip I would have right off the bat is to have a travel agent, because if you've never done it before, there's things you might not know, like checking in. I didn't know what checking in was, and if she told me, I probably forgot. But when I got to LA, I got there, didn't know where to go. So, okay, now what? So I asked somebody, what do I do next? Well, they pointed me to the line, and that line didn't move for half an hour. So I knew that was wrong. So I dropped everything, called my travel agent. Fortunately, they were working at that time, and they said, well, you got to take the terminal, or take this shuttle to terminal whatever. And so, okay, well, I did that. Then I showed up, and there was nobody there in the Philippine Airlines counter, nobody. So I said, what's going on here? I'm ready, to do what I have to do. And they said, well, your flight is already boarded, sir. So I called my agent, and she says, did you check in? And I said, yeah, here I am, She said, that's not what check-in means. Check-in is you go online, I guess, within 24 hours and say, okay, I don't know. My wife handles all this stuff. So if you're going alone without a wife, then that would make sure you get the travel agent. When you get your itinerary, have them write it down. What do I do here? How far do these bags get checked in? Because you don't want to make a mistake there. When do I go through customs? Make sure I have enough time when I go through customs to not miss my flight, because you're not going to know where to go if you've never, traveled very much. So I would get as much information from a travel agent. That's just me, and I made it, but I think they might have had to hold up the plane to get me on there, because I got on. They got me upstairs to leave, and then they're going to rush me on the plane. I realized I only had one bag instead of two, because I put the other one down to make the phone call. and it had my meds and the wedding ring in it. And so they had to call down to see if it was still there, which it was. So they ran it through the machines and just ran me right into the plane. I didn't even bother showing the paperwork. So I got on there. So learn as much as you can, get as much information as you can from the travel agent. Make yourself comfortable, get some sleeping pills if you need it, pain pills. You might not be able to sleep on the plane, so just be patient. There's nowhere you can go. You can't go out for a walk. You can stand up a lot, which you should do, because you can get blood clots in your legs if you're sitting there that long. I got up a lot to walk, go to the bathroom, stand up, sit down, because my back was killing me. And so that would help. As far as Philippines, the airport in Manila, they had this bullet scam going on at the time, where they would drop a bullet in your luggage or somewhere on your person, and then they would find it, pull you aside, and try to extort a few $1,000s from you, or else, because you have this bullet on you. Or they might slip a little marijuana or some kind of drug on you and say, what are you doing with this? And what are you going to do? So that's why you see people take, like my wife still does, when we go to Manila, she wraps up the luggage with tape, like this clear tape here. She wraps it all up so nobody can put anything in there. And other people in the Philippines do the same thing, because I think they're still scared of the bullet scam or putting drugs on you. That's very important. Never let anybody talk you into watching something for them while they go to the bathroom, because once you're holding on to that, somebody else may come around and say, hey, what do you got there, buddy? And look inside, and there's some drugs in there or whatever, and then you may not see the States for a while. So you have to be very wary of pickpocketers in Manila. If you're going by yourself, when you go to the airport, you'll be inundated with taxi drivers, and they're going to want to extort a lot of money out of you. So I think you're supposed to ask for a metered cab, not just where they can hold you hostage for whatever you want. And my wife met me there. Good thing she did. I wouldn't know what to do. And no sooner had I hugged her and met her and said hi than we're in a taxi, and the guy is going to charge us like $30-$40 for the taxi ride. And my wife and him were going at it nose to nose. When he wasn't driving, he'd turn over, and they were just going at it, and I knew she was talking about the price, overcharging us, and she was sticking up for me right away. I thought she was going to get us thrown out of that taxi, honestly. I was pulling at her arm, and she was going at it. She was sticking up for me, and she still would today. And we actually saw the same taxi driver like a day or two later. So it went better at that time. But the taxis, read up on the internet for tips on how to handle the taxis, getting around, because as a foreigner, you're a marked man. Be careful, to look out for not getting, pickpocketed. Don't, wave your jewelry or your cameras or your money. Wear a money belt, or you have it like tucked underneath your shirt, so that it's pretty impossible to get anything from you. Don't carry a lot of money when you go out in case something does happen. If you want to be more specific, maybe I can help with that. Having a Filipina with you makes all the difference in the world. The trips can, depending on how many flights you have to make and layovers and taxi rides and ferry rides, it can be an adventure. I think it gets better, the more you do it. I told my wife's family, I'm never coming back. It's too long, too hard on my back. But then went back twice, and we want to go back in December. Now we want to live there. So, you can make adjustments and handle that travel easier. The first time, the heat is going to be overwhelming. And if you're from upper Michigan, then unless you've done some other traveling in some warm weather climates, you've never experienced anything like the heat of the Philippines. The worst time to go for heat would be March, April, May. We got married right in the middle of that. May 10th, I had to wear the barong and all that stuff, sweating, and it was hot, but it was a great day. And those 3 months are the worst. Otherwise, we've been there in June and July and August, and quite frankly, it wasn't that bad. You probably get into more of the rainy season, and the nights can maybe be a little cooler. So that's just something, if you want to stay out of the dreaded heat, avoid March, April, May. Oh, about traveling, first time, make sure if you go to Walgreens or CVS or wherever you get your meds, ask where you need to go to get your to see what kind of vaccinations you need. We have one Walgreens store here that specializes in that. It's the only one I can go to, and they'll keep your records if you're going to go back again. There's like a Hep A. That might be good for life. I always have to check. The typhoid, I think you got to take every 2 years. You can get a longer acting injection now, but the ones I've been getting last 2 years. So we can make this trip in December without having to do it. But if we go back, after that, we'll have to go, both my wife and I, and get those immunizations, typhoid. I can't remember if that's a pill or an injection, but I would definitely check out what you need to get. If you go to a drug, like a Walgreens or some place, they can direct you where to go, and they'll reference what is needed in different parts of the country. You certainly do not want to drink the water in the Philippines. You don't want to use ice cubes from that water in the Philippines. Probably you're okay if you want to eat ice cream, because I've done it before, but no water. Make sure you're buying bottled water. Even a lot of the locals do that. My wife, won't drink the water there anymore, so you can get really sick if you do that. So I'm not sure what other travel tips I can give you, other than get all the information you need so you get in the right place, and ask for help, because I asked for help and I even got wrong advice, and it almost cost me the flight because I was standing in line for half an hour that wasn't moving anywhere. So I would always talk to a travel agent, if you haven't done this sort of thing before. I hope that helps, because I did it by myself, and I almost missed the flight because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do, or at least I didn't understand it. So I still would not go by myself. It would be too nerve-wracking. My wife hadn't flown before, but I just told her last night, she's made 32 flights since she left the Philippines on January 11th of 2016 to come here and live in America. 32 flights. So it's she knows how to get through Tokyo. Well, now you have to go to Tokyo. They don't have that flight from LA to Manila. You have to go. She went from Detroit to Tokyo this time. Even if you're in LA, you probably got to go to Tokyo or somewhere. It just makes it longer. And then you got to go from there to Manila. It's about a 12.5-hour flight. It's just don't be in a hurry. If you're impatient, you're going to lose your mind, because it's a very long trip. You can bring something to read if you want, but you might not be able to. I did, but I just wasn't able to. I think I was just excited, especially if it's your first time there. Man, you're going to be really excited. Uh, no, go ahead. Like Dave, this was just an impromptu thing. My wife went to work. I'm glad that she's back now, and I hadn't done a live stream in a few weeks. And I don't want to get out of the practice of it. I usually have a topic, and sometimes they can go long. But I also want to get used to just talking to anybody about anything. Often a guy will have over 1,000 subscribers to do a live stream where there's a lot of people there, a lot of conversation, and maybe that's best. I don't know, but I'm just washing clothes here. I just thought I'd get on here and see if I can help somebody regarding foreigner and Filipino relationships. Just give a little background of my story, and I have great respect for Filipinas and the way they can make great wives, and just you just have to be careful. If you don't notice any red flags, it certainly helps if you do locate somebody. What does it hurt to have them talk to somebody else? A friend of yours. I had my wife talk to my pastor. She wanted to, and they talked. I told my pastor, I said, "Okay, I think I'm going to marry this woman." I know it was fast. 18 days, I got engaged to her. Started thinking about it on 12 days. So we set up a interview, I guess, and I just left. They talked for about 40 minutes. I said, ask her whatever you want. Let me know what your opinion is. So he did. I know Isa was very excited to do that because I can still see her hammering away on the keyboard. She was just so excited, to talk to him. And then she talked to my mother, and she talked to my aunt. And, in case you have a blind spot somewhere, keep in mind you can always have this Filipina you're interested in talk to other people, and just get their impressions. I'm sure there have been men who've been burned by a Filipina where other people, told them, hey, this doesn't seem like a good idea, and they were right. So it always helps to get advice before you make a big decision like that. So I just want to help. I don't mind who's asking the questions here tonight. I didn't announce this. I just thought I would come on here and talk. And I have a YouTube channel. It's to help foreigners and Filipinas, especially if they're going to go all the way to marriage. This isn't even when we're in the Philippines. Hopefully, in 5 years, it's not going to be a sexpat type of thing. This is serious relationship channel. I want people's relationships to work, and whatever I can learn, I'm willing to share with others. So anybody that comes across this is not familiar with this channel, I'll take a look at the playlist and scroll down the list of videos and see if there's something that catches your eye. Maybe you'll want to move closer to a very long distance relationship with a Filipina. Maybe you've had bad experiences and there's nothing that anyone can do to make you feel like things could be better this time. But I don't know. It's hard finding somebody in America. If you want a woman that loves to have long hair or shorter hair that looks feminine, a slender, light brown skin, they want to be a woman and look like a woman. Well, that seems like a Filipina, to me. And don't give up. Anybody out there that sees this, don't give up on marriage. I haven't thought about being single since I met her. She made 30 years disappear just like that. And just like one of our wedding songs, you changed my life in a moment. And I just watched my wedding DVD because I was missing my wife. So My mother lives with us, actually. Our bedroom's down here in the basement. My mom lives upstairs. My wife wanted her to live with us so we could help her out. So I was watching a DVD with my mom. And I've got some videos, short ones from our wedding early on. If you scroll down, you can see who my wife is and and all of that. So I'm just throwing my hat in the ring with Philippines vloggers. This is going to be, Filipina friendly, family friendly, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to pull any punches with what you have to know because I know it can end in disaster if a guy is not careful. And we don't need any more people getting burned beyond recognition by not making a good choice of a Filipina. So I appreciate, Dave, and Harry, I appreciate your comments here tonight. And if anybody else later on wants to leave comments, that's fine. I'll probably do another live stream again. I've done some. You can look and see those in that playlist, topics that I've done on live streams. It's just I'm not crazy about the pressure of having to be here at the time I say I'm going to be here, because what happens if I can't? I don't have 1,000 subscribers, so I can't make a post saying, here's this video coming up in a day or something like that. So otherwise I would. So I just tried opening up, the camera here and talking. And Dave, I hope I've helped. And I hope you can find a good Filipina. Come back to my channel or look through some stuff now. If there's anything that interests you, maybe you can be another man who finds love beyond the sea, which is what this channel is about. So without further ado, I think I will go back to the laundry and working on my next video. I write out all the scripts. So I've got lots and lots of ideas. I think I've got now 140 additional topics for videos that I haven't even taped. I've written about 130 of them. So I'm getting real close. I keep thinking of things and I write them down. I add them to the list. And I try to write them. And I've got about 20 videos I haven't even released yet that I made before we went on vacation last year. So I guess I still have those in inventory too. Always like to talk about this. Not everyone understands here. Well, this is, it's risky business in a way, but investing is risky business, but you minimize your risk by talking to financial counselors, listening to what they say, asking questions, and, it's a risk just getting, somebody died a while ago over the intersection here, just a few blocks away. Just getting in your car is a risk. And I think a lot about getting older and retirement and what I want the end of my life to be. I want it to be with a woman. I want it to be with a woman that can be my best friend, which my wife is. And I certainly want to allow her to help her family. I help her family too. That's a good idea to do that. And recognize how difficult it is for her to do what she's doing. She's leaving what must seem like a million miles away. Everyone she's ever known, loved, all her familiar places, her friends. And it's hard. She's going to go through homesickness. My wife kind of went through that again the first time she went to the Philippines and then came back, after she got here. Now that she's been there, I think she's been there, 3 times, I guess now. I think she's over that. Now that she's back, I think she's ready to get back in the swing of things. I want to just help you manage, the dating process. Um, when she's here and you're here together, you're different. Older man, younger woman. There could be some obstacles, so we want to talk about those things, and that's what the channel is all about. There are a lot of misconceptions, and so we want to talk about what's real. Scamming is real. I want to do a video with my wife where people will ask questions about scamming in particular, and she can respond to that. That's just an idea, um, up ahead for this channel. Um, Normally, she doesn't like to be on the camera, not to mention live. She just doesn't want to be on the camera. But once in a while, she'll say, "Hun, film this." I'm not going to let that go. So I do, and anybody later on, keep in mind that I want to do more live streams. I want to keep this channel going for the rest of my life. We're just getting started. A lot of the early videos, and even some that I haven't released yet, are about the online process, and that's good to know. But as we've been married now for just short of 4 years, the topics that I've been working on evolve into more of the relationship and conflict, and even now, even thinking about retirement. So stop by again someday. I don't know what we're going to do with these live streams. I think it's better if I announce it ahead of time, but part of me doesn't want to have to hold myself to that. And in time, maybe this can be done the same time, the same day, every week, as time goes by, and maybe that's what we'll do. So thanks for keeping me company, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you about this. I love talking about this sort of thing and giving my 2 cents. I am married. We work through the things that you're going to have to face one of these days if you're not even involved with this yet. So hopefully I'll be able to cover the topics that are most important. So I am going to get on. The night is still young. I got some laundry to do, so my wife doesn't have to try to sleep when she gets home with the washing machine going. So thank you for joining me here tonight on this impromptu live stream on Love Beyond the Sea.